Hello, and on the show this week we've got...
Well, we've seen what looks to be the new SRAM AXS, or a variant of it, in the wild.
And over in Shimano, they're playing with a new wireless shifter.
Oh, and in the retro corner, there's a 1987 Rally Team Banana edition, and also a cool retro mod version as well.
And we give Kotick Cascade a bit of love.
Hey.
Love.
Hey, love. Love. So starting this week's show, really want to talk a bit about Nino Schurter. I know this is less tech related right now, but 10 times world champ.
10 times.
You know, just unbelievable. And let's face it, he's been at the forefront of cross-country tech really, for a long time. We saw the first Eagle Access wireless stuff, prototypes on his bike in 17. But look, here's his latest bike that he's just won on, which is just absolutely gorgeous. And I think ultimately it's probably, well, you could arguably say it's the best cross-country race bike there is right now.
Well, it's got to be.
With the track record, 120 mil travel as well. Definitely a look into the future. But it's got us thinking a bit, actually. So you think that he's won 10 times. Look how different some of his bikes have been over the years, or think about this. So back in 2009, this is what he was riding. So it was a hardtail, for starters, and it had a seat mast on there that essentially you would cut down to length. Can you imagine doing that on a mountain bike today?
I had a Bianchi, one of my race bikes actually was a Bianchi, and I had to cut the frame. And do you know how terrifying it is? I mean, it's bad enough doing handlebars, let alone an entire frame.
I don't know, I'd love to cut someone's frame. I hope it'd be really good fun, turn it into a jump bike. But no, it just seems like quite bizarre, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And he's also tested out loads of different things over the years. Obviously, there's been, since he's been racing, the migration from 26 to 650B to 29's happened. But do you remember when he was on 650B, he was running tubs?
Yeah, I'd completely forgotten about this. And when you said it, it reminded me. And I used to watch the World Cups when I was back racing XC, and I used to watch the World Cup and be like, oh my God, he's running tubs. And back then, only cyclocrossers were doing it.
Yeah, and probably they would only understand it as well, really.
So yeah, that was really cool. And he was running 650B tubs as well, which was even madder. So back then, he was running 650B ahead of the game when everyone was on 26s. So he was already pushing the tech forward in the wheel sizing as well as the tubs. And then when everyone was like, oh yeah, we've got 650B, and then now we're moving on to 29er, he actually stayed with the 650B, which was really weird.
Some time,
he was almost holding it back. Yeah, he was riding the Olympics in 2016.
Yeah, in fact, it's his bike. I saw his bike at Eurobike. With the tubs on it still. Yeah. Tubs, in case you're wondering, is tubular tyres. Thing that basically the tyre gets, I'd say, cemented, glued onto the rim.
Definitely.
Yeah, and so the rim itself doesn't have like a hook or a sidewall. It's like quite a flat profile rim. So I guess you can run at really low pressure.
Yeah, it was kind of like the precursor to tubeless, really, because you got to run soft tyres and low pressures and get great grip. But now, I don't know, tubeless setup's so good, we don't really see them that much anymore. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. He's always been pushing the envelope and riding the prototypes. So if you want to know what the pinnacle of technology is going to be next year, you got to watch his bikes.
You've got to be looking at Nino's bikes, and
like,
a handful of others as well, but he's prime for that.
And he's still ahead of the game. I know we're running Axis, but we've potentially seen a new prototype Axis on his bike this year, and more about that later. But also still, I think, pushing that 120 front and rear suspension, which not many others are doing. And he was running like 110 back in like 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
And that was already like, is he riding a trail bike? And now still running 120.
He rides the bike like it's a trail bike as well, to be fair. He's, early adopter of jumping, and although he came to drop a post fairly late, which I always found amusing. One of the reasons apparently was he thought that the tyres and the wheels wouldn't be able to keep up. You can see the logic, and they put saddle down, you can suddenly go faster into rough stuff, but it seems to be using a drop post here and there. So
yeah, I mean, he's pretty steezy. I don't think a saddle has ever really got in his way, to be honest.
No, definitely not. Although he does have that weird sort of droopy moustache thing instead of a handlebar, which I'm sorry, Nino, your bike's beautiful, but I just can't. I know it's for a reason, and it's very excellent that you have that position, it works for you, but I can't look past it. I'm sorry, I'm shallow.
And didn't he go and do the Tour de France for a bit as well?
It wouldn't surprise me.
We should forgive him for that. He did come back
10 times world
eventually.
champion.
But also, he actually has a hand in this technology as well. He doesn't just ride it every year. And that's what I really admire about him, is that he actually does put a lot of input in. He's been one of the main contributors to developing the Maxxis Aspen, and he's been playing around with some prototypes in the last year, trying to up the thread count in the tyres. Yeah. And I just think it's really exciting to have someone actually top level having a say in that sort of thing. And if it trickles down to us mere mortals, then...
Oh, 100%. I mean, where the Scott is now is Race Bike Tech. That's largely thanks to Nino. I mean, Scott are a brilliant company as far as design goes, but they've undoubtedly beta tested on him the entire time, building him his ultimate race bike that you can go and buy in the wild, which is great, I think.
Yeah, cool. So what do you think about Nino Schurter? Does the 10 wins make him the GOAT? Is he the greatest all time?
Yeah, he is.
Is Absalon still holding on? Still got more World Cup wins? And what was your favourite bit of tech that he was riding, or your favourite bike? Did you like the integrated seat posts and the hardtail, or are you loving the 120 full sus right now? Let us know down in the comments below.
Okay, straight into news, and first thing this week is Santa Cruz launched another new bike. This time it's a revision of the 5010, which you can see on screen. So there's a couple of different colours in this. I think they call them gloss red and matte grey, imaginative colours there. So it's based around the same VPP systems we've seen on the rest of their bikes. This one's available between extra small and double XL. 130mm frame, running a 140mm fork, and it's got all the sort of usual things you expect to see on the Santa Cruz bikes today. So you've got the glove box on there, you've got the CC and the C carbon there, post mount 180, UDH hanger on the rear, threaded BB, good work on that one, boost IS headset size on there, and so you've got this little window you can see to set up sag, which, although weird, is kind of useful and kind of cool. Now, something they're keen to say about this bike is it's still a trail bike, but it's a trail bike to have fun on, not a fun bike that you can ride trails on. I think they're basically trying to say it's not a 50-to-1 signature bike, It's a bike for everyone to go and enjoy. So they've done a couple of things to the rear suspension on this to make it sort of stand out from other bikes with 130. So firstly, it's not as progressive as other 130 bikes are there. It's not as progressive as other 130mm bikes are that are available in the market. And the reason for doing that is when you have a short travel bike and you make it very progressive, it can feel quite harsh if you ride it for certain things. So they've tried to make it feel slightly more linear or less progressive than previous models and stuff. And also it's got less anti-squat as well. So anti-squat is what we use to control suspension in terms of how it reacts to pedaling essentially. And they've reduced that because the less anti-squat you have, the more forgiving the suspension is. And with a bike, 130mm travel, arguably you can run less anyway. So the suspension is more active than previous models. Geometry, in case you're wondering, head angle is 64.9 in the low setting. Seat angle varies between sizes, so 75.9 up to 77.1. That's from extra small to double XL. Chainstay 423 up to 429, and reach 406 to 521. And as with all Santa Cruz bikes, got lifetime warranty on the frame and the bearings.
Nice. They seem to be making those updates throughout their whole range, don't they? So I don't know what's next.
You basically just pick the travel you want, basically, and go and pick one. Yeah,
nice.
Decent bikes for sure.
Well, back over in the UK, Steel Pioneers Kotick. It's not a new bike, but we got a press release from Kotick recently, which was basically just sharing a letter, well, a love letter, from one of their riders, or their readers, or riders. Basically, they've had Koticks for a while, and this guy decided that the Kotick Cascade was not for him. One of the few Koticks that didn't make sense for him. He'd gone on the website, he'd done exactly what I did, and look at this Cascade. I mean, have a look at it on screen. The marketing is a load of hipsters riding around with surfboards, going and drinking wine and eating cheese on the beach. And I was just like, great, they've made a hipster bike. Brilliant.
Soft cheese or hard cheese?
It was a hard cheese.
Hard cheese. Just checking.
And he said, well, this isn't for me. And then he went and demoed one and got rid of 2 of his bikes and replaced it with this. So I just wanted to give it a bit of love because I don't want other people to make the same mistake I did. This Kotick Cascade is apparently the mountain biker's other bike, is what they say. It sits seamlessly between the 29er hardtail and their gravel bike. So it's not a gravel bike, which you put meh gravel bike on the notes here.
Well, that's just predicting that you want to talk about a gravel bike again.
I would class this as your good old-fashioned ATB. Now, this is an all-terrain bike. These are the people you should love. I mean, we sort of look at them and think they're kind of hippie hipsters, but they're the people still keeping that bike alive. That Gary Fisher behind you.
I know. I like to be devil's avocado,
just being like drifting around beaches and whatnot. But anyway, take a look at on the screen now. It's the Cotic Cascade, comes in 3 lovely colours. It's racked to the max. The specs do include an ecological bike packing mug or bowl, but don't let that put you off. It is a really nice 29er steel bike, loads of lugs on it, and it only costs about £849, which for a frame and forks, which I think is pretty good. Because at the time I was thinking, well, I can make a little raggy bike to take my surfboard to the beach on, but then actually £850 is pretty good for something that's purpose made, 29er, integrated seat posts, all the lugs, and it just looks pretty. So yeah, anyway, I just thought I'd give that some love.
I like Sire and I like the Cotic stuff. And I also like to take the mech, so we'll have to go with that one. Yeah, pretty cool, I think. And I do love the fact there's a genuine love letter story as well.
Yeah. And I think the guy lives in the Peak District, which, if you don't know, is proper British gravel in that it's chunky bridleways. And I think that's where an all-terrain bike actually lives. It's that zone between gravel and mountain biking, which, if you live near it, it makes sense.
Cool beans. Right, moving on. Time pedals. Now, here's a brand that I've not spent that much time on over the years. Terrible pun there, accidentally. But now they're part of the SRAM portfolio. So I think we're going to see a lot more of them. And they've just sent a few pedals in just to have a look at. And I just thought, draw attention to a couple of pairs. So they've got their Enduro pedal, which is, this one's a special 12. I think there's another version as well. There's the 8, which has a slightly smaller cage and a slightly cheaper price. So these ones, the top end ones, these retail for €290. They're made from 6106 T6 alloy. And other than the fact they're kind of an Enduro style pedal, you can put grub screws in them to adjust the sort of feel on there, high quality bearings in them, micro adjustable tension on the jaws on them. The thing that's really different about the time pedals is the cleat system with the engagement on them. So on a Shimano pedal, you don't really have any float on there as such, and your engagement is quick in and out, and you know exactly where you are. You can adjust your tension. On the Crank Brothers pedals, you get different amounts of float due to the cleat on there, but these ones have a fixed cleat, but they have lateral float. I think it's 5mm float side to side on them, which is amazing if you have knee problems. Now, I know a few people that use various different versions of time pedals, and they absolutely swear by them. And I showed these to Neil earlier, and he actually said that Mark Beaumont, when he used to work here, would swear by them as well. So they've definitely got a big fan base, and I think more so even on the cross-country stuff. So that's one of their ATAC pedals. This is the XC8, and it's one of 3 models they have. So their pricing is 169, which is this one, and 264. This is a carbon filled body with a hollow steel axle on there. So they're pretty light. So these are 286 grams a pair, whereas the Enduro ones are 404 grams a pair. There's 2 different cleats you can get. So the cleats they provide them with are 13 and 17 degrees of movement before disengagement, and you can obviously reverse them to get the opposite amount. They also do an easy one with a 10-degree float before disengagement. Now, well, that's really it. Just wanted to draw attention to the fact that they're here, they're making great stuff. In fact, they've always been here, but you're probably going to see a lot more of them in the future. Yeah,
well, it's kind of SRAM's missing bow in the quiver, isn't it?
Big time.
Is pedals. They do pretty much everything else on the bike.
And I've got to say, they look wicked when you actually see these in the flesh. Lovely quality on these. So, check them out.
They've been about for some time as well, haven't they? Yeah. They're not just a new thing. So
they've been massive in road for years.
Yeah.
So I think they'll win a lot of fans and cross country straight out. And you obviously use those on gravel and road and stuff as well.
For sure. We've been talking about the prototype SRAM AXS. I think lots of people have been talking about it because we keep spying photos. Well, not photos. We keep spying it in the actual races, but none of the photos seem to show it, really. Yeah. So we've been struggling. However, if you check out this snap on of Yolanda Neff on the Trek Instagram page, you can actually see the derailleur quite clearly. You can just about see that it's got a nice slender body, which is unusual. You can also see this sort of silver aluminium finish to the inside of the lower jockey wheel, which is something different. I don't know if they're just going to have an aluminium jockey wheel or whether they're trying to play around with ceramic bearings or something like that.
I reckon ceramic bearings in there, yeah.
I mean, why would you use aluminium if you're not going to machine something and do it properly? But also you can see that the lower swing arm is kind of single rather than the usual V shape. And I don't think that's the important thing here. If you really look, you'll see that it seems to be fitted to almost the outside of the frame. It's like it's hooked
like
into the axle. It's like the axle hooks it in. Now, as far as I'm aware, these frames aren't actually, they're not specific to the derailleur. So what we're thinking is maybe it could be UDH, Universal Derailleur Hanger specific frames. Yeah. Yep. Could allow you to add this new AXS derailleur. So that's either good news or bad news, because it's like, well, are they getting rid of the hanger? Is that the end of the mech hanger? Or is it just that they invented the UDH so that they could bring this forward and now anyone who's got a UDH compatible frame will be able to run the new AXS?
Oh, yeah. I mean, assuming it is the same one we've seen in different shots, you've seen lots of BMC riders and some Trek riders as well as the Scott riders. And you can see it in a few of these shots here. You know, it's almost like papped and zoomed in to see them. I think the good thing about this is there's no harm in saying it's a big derailleur.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
AXS derailleur is quite big, so
It's chunky.
To try and reduce the weight on it without losing the sort of stiffness it needs for it to work well, the only way you're going to do it is by giving it more support.
Right.
So I think that's kind of where they're going with it. I think it looks cool from what we can see.
And I noticed that the front chain rings are sort of a really unusual sort of, they're black, so I don't know if they're messing with coatings or whether they're just trying to divert our eyes away from something else, because there's little bumps and whatnot that suggest there might be power meters propping in there. They've got, Yolanda Neff was running one of those flat top chains, which I've used on.
Was running as well.
Right, okay, and that's usually been reserved for ETAP on the road, not on SRAM. So they're doing something, and well, I'm just generally excited to see what that is.
Which just won a world
if only
championships.
It looks cool.
So yeah, it's good. It's good tech. And one last thing, just to cram into news, is it looks like Wheelbase is back with a slightly different Instagram handle. So this is the new Instagram handle on the screen here. So Wheelbase have been looking into sort of patents for up and coming cool stuff for a lot of time, and I think their account got hacked or taken down for some reason. I don't know what the reasons are, but the content on there is excellent and is a really detailed website. So if you want to go down a rabbit hole of what stuff might be coming, check them out. Please do. Link will be down there. I'm just going to leave you with this picture that Wheelbase have posted about what appears to be something Shimano are designing. Looks like a wireless shifter. It looks mega cool, but I don't want to get involved and spoil this. So have a look at what Wheelbase have excellently pulled up from the interweb.
Okay, it's quiz time. So let's just jump straight in there. First question is, when was SRAM AXS released to the public? So, electronic shifting. Next question is, the AXS in SRAM's AXS, or Eagle AXS drivetrain, refers to the electronic AXS or AXS mobile app. And that was launched the year before the drivetrain, but what was it meant to work with, if not the drivetrain?
That's a good question.
Yeah. And then the third question is, SRAM acquired Time Sports, which is the pedals we've been showing you. Acquired their whole range of pedals and cleats in 2021, last year. But when was Time originally founded? We didn't tell you.
Oh, that's full nerd level, that one.
We didn't tell you, but
good luck with that one.
Proper heritage.
Okay, some comments from last week's show. So that was, it looks like a bit of retro love, actually. So right up my street. First one, oh man, the Muddy Fox career. My second mountain bike after the Alcart. I remember riding them when mountain bikes were rare in the UK and people asked what they were. Many memories on this show. Hey, I felt the same. And there's a retro video coming. So yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy it. And I will be doing a rebuild with that bike as well. Starving Artist says, love the passion for older tech. I had a Hans GT Ricochet Trials bike. I found it at a garage sale. Eventually sold it to a collector. But man, it was a rad bike for its time. Martin says, Doddy, you've got to get the smoke and dark tan wheels for the Fox. I have a pair laying around. Oh, thank you very much. I did have a smoke on the rear. I never had a dart on the front of that bike. Actually, I lie. I did have some of the smoke and dark magics, that weird sort of white off-white colour. I had some of them for a while, but I think I want to put the brown Richies on it because that was like the last tyre I remember having on it. I used to run all sorts on that, but thank you very much. I'm sure I can find a home for those. Derek says the original BMW Schindberger pedals are insane. Yeah, they were actually. You ever seen those things? They're like a meat cleaver. They're basically, and they call them burgers. You literally they tenderise your leg. Horrific, but really cool piece of machinery. GTs are already huge among retro bike enthusiasts and highly sought after bases. If they bring out a retro style GT triple triangle gravel bike, it would sell like hotcakes.
What? They do a GT grade, which is a gravel bike.
But if it's steel, would be.
I guess so. It's got the Zaska vibes. You know, that sort of top tube has the weird sort of like triangle.
Yeah.
But, maybe not retro enough.
Amazing time saved from the Canada ambulance bike. Worthy winner, even if it wasn't quite what other people were expecting. 100%, yeah. And someone, just to finish off, says, I remember the MBUK article on the Canada ambulance bike back in the day. Yeah, I mean, as I said on last week's show, it was really relevant bike and genuinely saved thousands or hundreds of lives. So a very cool thing.
Yeah.
Okay, into Rewind, and I've just got a real cool bike to show you. So on screen is a 1987 Rally Avanti, which is, Rally is a UK company. There's also Rally USA. This is Rally Nottingham in the UK. And it's in a Team Banana colours, which was a race team, a road race team. But I haven't actually seen one of these, and the condition of this looks unreal. Like, real cool to see. It's got Dior U-brake down by the chainstay there, so really powerful brake, but awful. As soon as you went in mud, it would just clog up. And the little fin on the bottom of it, that's a Shimano shark tooth. So you would get a thing called chain suck back in the day where the chain would get sucked up between the chainstay and the tyre, but there was all sorts of other problems you used to get with having a U-brake down there. Messy old setup, but somehow kind of cool. And, you know, massive bullhorn bars on there, and that side-on shot. Look at the head angle on that. It's not even like... I don't know what happened to mountain biking sort of after 1987 for a while, but it went kind of like roady and steep, didn't it? That's fairly slack and long chainstay on there.
See, that is like a Cotic Cascade, isn't it? It's an all-terrain vehicle is what it is.
Just cool. And when I was at the Malverns, I saw what I thought was one of those going past, and I stopped and looked again, and someone, in fact, here's the shots on screen, someone had got a Rally Shopper, which was literally a shopping bike, 20-inch wheel from back in the day, and sprayed it up and custom finished it to look like this bike. So I just want to give some love to that bike, because I think what an incredible piece of work to spend a bit of time on. But mega cool to see both of those bikes, I think.
Yeah, thanks to Mark from Tamworth for sending those in.
Yeah, big ups, Mark.
If you've got your own, don't forget to find our uploader and send us in your own Rewind bikes.
Thank you very much.
So, time for those quiz answers. So, when was SRAM AXS released to the public? It was 2019. Feels like a long time ago and also not a long time ago. And the previous year, in 2018, AXS was already released, but what was it meant to be working with? It was meant to be the Tyre Whiz. So the AXS app was a mobile app, and it worked with the Tyre Whiz before it worked with the AXS drivetrain. And then SRAM acquired Time Sports, a whole range of pedals, in 2021. But Time was originally founded in 1987.
Same year as that Rally Avanti.
Was it?
Yeah, just by chance. Yeah.
Full circle. And just like that, full circle on the show today. Thank you for watching. Do give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed watching our stuff.
Yeah. Ta-ra.
Bye.